Hi, guys. Welcome back to the Self-Love Archives podcast. I'm your host, Julia Salvia, and I'm super excited for today's episode because I have my beautiful, beautiful friend, Kathleen Ives here, who I'm so excited to introduce you to. I have so many amazing things to say about Kathleen, and we have so many amazing things to chat together with and to share with you. So I'm super excited for today's podcast. If I could say that a million times, but let's just jump right into it. Hi, Kathleen. How are you?
So good. Happy to be here. I'm excited.
I'm so happy you are here. Please give everybody a little something about who you are.
Well, I am Kathleen, and there are many seashells in my mermaid house. One of them being I'm a spiritual medium, I am an intuitive, I coach people on how to strengthen their intuition and live a more aligned life. I'm a writer, I'm a death doula. I was also in marketing for the past 10 years. I'm a UGC creator. I do a lot of things. I'll stage your house. You can find me on Instagram at Kathleen Ives, KATHLEENIVES with an underscore. Also, my website, KathleenIves.com. And shoot me a DM, and I'm always happy to say hi. And it's a fun, juicy place to be your authentic self. And I'm just really excited to be here.
Thank you. I'm so excited to have you here. I want to start off today's podcast with you giving me like a whole ass synopsis on your self-love journey from the very beginning, to give you guys some info on like how me and Kathleen met. It was just like one of those the stars align blind date kind of meetings.
Literally.
We had essentially worked together in some sort of way. I was working with a brand and they invited me to dinner and thought that Kathleen would just be the perfect plus one to this dinner. And they were indeed correct because here we are today. And it's just been absolutely amazing from there getting to know Kathleen and just all the good things, really. So tell us, I want to hear about your self-love journey and kind of how you came to where you are today. And then we'll dig deeper into each of those parts.
We love digging deeper.
Well, don't
So,
we?
my self love journey has been a long one, probably the greater portion of my life thus far. And it started at a very young age. I was always taller, bigger, more mature looking, older looking than everyone I knew, all the kids. I was always mad that I couldn't fit into Abercrombie Kids and I had to go to the adult store. And so from a young age, there was a very different energy put around me and on me. And, it caused a lot of self-worth issues. I developed an eating disorder by 12, and it was the very obsessive working out, counting calories, all these things. I was a child and I just wanted to be smaller. And I even to this day, when I sit, I have to think about my posture and like how I hold my shoulders because for years I would round and try to make myself smaller. And I think a huge portion of my life, I tried to make myself smaller to make other people comfortable. And so I'm finally in a phase of my life, which really took till my 30s, where I'm not making myself smaller to make anyone comfortable. I'm going to be as big as I need to be. And if that triggers people, then I'm glad that's helping them heal something that they need because I'm done playing small. But, growing up, I went through a lot of that and, trying to get my confidence up and dealing with normal childhood, adolescent stuff, bullying and, confidence issues. And then when I got into a relationship, I was 19 or 20, and this was, a 10-year long relationship. So we were children when we met. And by the time we weren't children anymore, I I'm a lover, I'm a giver, I'm a hopeless romantic, and I did really had to learn the lesson that you can't hold everything for everyone. And I've always had a large capacity to hold things for people and to hold stress and emotional support and all of these things, but I would take it on, and then after a while you have all of your stress and everything going on in your life and all of the energies around you. You have all the stress and energies of a partner that you're also holding on to. And you're only supposed to be one person. You're not supposed to be multiple people.
Yeah.
So I really let myself go and lost a lot of who I was.
Hmm.
And I don't think I actually ever gave myself the space, chance, or time to learn who I was. I think for so long I was trying to be someone for everyone else and
Hmm.
trying to make everyone else comfortable and make everyone else feel a certain way. And I think I finally, after leaving that relationship, I gave myself the space. I was the first time I was alone ever to be like, who are you? Like, let's meet. Let's figure out what Kathleen likes. Let's figure out what I don't like. What makes me tick. Let's try new things. What of the old things do I like, and which ones was I just doing to help other people? Not help, but you know what I mean. I think it took a lot. I mean, people are like, "Oh, you transformed so quickly." I'm like, I had a lot of energy that I freed up, which was able to come in like waves and teach me a lot. But I also released a lot. And there were so many days, everyone sees my page and they're like, oh, you're so happy all the time. And I genuinely am. But, it's two sides of the same coin. With all that joy and happiness, there's also days I'm scream crying into a pillow. And that's okay. It's the acceptance and allowance of that has helped me love myself more fully, because
Hmm.
it's all of the parts of us that we have to love. It's not about picking and choosing the parts that we like, that we love. It's
Yeah.
all of the parts. And so, yeah, it's been quite the journey,
I
but
mean, 10 years is a really long time.
mhm,
Like to be giving all of your energy and all of you to someone else, to other people, even if it's, past longer than that. And you were doing that prior to this relationship, this long-term relationship. It's a really long time to not know who you are. So to have this moment of like freedom where this piece of you, because of all of the, you're giving, 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 they literally become like a piece of you when you should have just been, you should be a piece all in yourself.
mhm,
It should just be you and this other person, and you come together. Like you're 100%, your cup is overflowing. This other person is
mhm,
100%, their cup is overflowing, and you're just deciding to come together to overflow into each other,
yes,
not be half empty or be 100% giving 50 of you to the other person and filling their cup,
yeah.
so that they can overflow. That's not, we need to be 100% filled and leave our overflow for other people.
The Pinterest
So,
smoothie.
yeah.
That's my visual. The Pinterest smoothie where it's like
Yes.
piling over and dripping down the
Yes.
sides. That's how I think of my cup. Like Pinterest smoothie
Exactly.
is the standard.
So I'm surprised that other people would be surprised at this immense amount of growth that you went through so quickly after leaving such a long relationship. And it's not even the leaving of the relationship, it's leaving the tie or the bond with something or someone else that has, I don't want to say like jailed you or kept you in a box, but like kept you in a box.
I feel like I like to look at it this way. It's more so I had to grieve that version of me
Yeah.
that I was in that container of my life because, in that period, I lost my soul dog. I changed jobs. I moved, like a lot of pieces and parts. And I think people don't realize with great change and with wanting to change your life, or it's going to cost you your old life. And that
Hmm.
old version of you, you do need to grieve, because I was with
Hmm.
her a very long time.
Yeah.
And, she did the best she could. And I think being able to let that version of me go and
Hmm.
fully step into the new version of me that I want to be and put forth into the world, that takes some balls. Yeah, like it's
Oh yeah.
it's it's scary. It's sad sometimes. Your footing can be a little unsure, but yeah, it's almost like it's a grieving of a past version of me more so than even the relationship. It was
Yeah.
very much who I was then versus who I am now.
Yeah, exactly. Because everything is so brand new. I think that when we it's a really hard process to go through, like grieving this past version of ourselves, because we don't know necessarily who that person is after, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
we're just everything that we thought we were, everything we knew we were is just completely being trashed and rewritten or written over, crossed out, edited. It's we are becoming a completely brand new person. And maybe some small things remain, like maybe your favorite color is the same, maybe you still really like that 90s movie, but for the most part, like Kathleen is turning into a completely different person. We are
Mm-hmm.
turning into completely different people when we are grieving this past version of ourselves. I think that too is a reason why it's so incredibly difficult sometimes to decide to leave such a long-term relationship,
Mm-hmm.
because we don't know who we're going to be,
Mm-hmm.
not necessarily without this person, but maybe without this
Yeah,
person, without this home that we've built together, without
it's
this
a
life.
safety. It's a
Yeah,
safety.
exactly. It's scary making such a big change to something that's such a constant in our lives. Even if you know deep down inside that that constant, that relationship isn't a good one for you.
And it's very, you know, I've come to realize also people always say like, oh, it was your whole 20s or what, like, people think of time as these finite things. And it, to some extent, we don't have unlimited time, but I really believe everything happens in its own timeline the way it should. And
Mhm.
I needed to be there then to be where I am now. And I'm grateful
Wow.
for that. I always think it's fascinating. When I was little, I would go through my yearbooks, like school yearbook, the last day of school, you're so excited, everyone
Mhm.
signed your yearbook, have a good summer. I think one of the weirdest things people would write constantly is never change. Have a good summer, never change. Love ya, don't change. Even to this day, I've left companies and things where, they'll give you a nice card and they're like, I hope you never change. I understand the sentiment and thank you, but God, what a horrible thing to say to
Yeah,
someone.
like why is change so
Please
bad?
change. Please change. I hope you
Yeah.
change. I hope you constantly change. The only constant in life is change. So
Yeah.
if you don't change, how stuck you must feel.
Mm.
And I always marinated on that and thought it was so interesting how so many people's mindset, but really it's not about you changing or not. It's about they think of you a certain way, and kind of like how I went back to growing up, I would always try to be whatever people needed me to be instead of what I
Mm.
wanted to be. that plays into that concept where, you are one way to ever, like a certain person thinks of you one way, and that's how you fit into their life. And that's how
Hmm.
they're comfortable with you in their life. So you changing actually makes them uncomfortable. So it's
Yeah.
actually about them. It's always about us, like
Yeah.
we're the stars of our own TV show. Everyone else is co-stars. And that's
Yeah.
just a fact of being a human being. But yeah, I always thought that was an interesting concept, and realizing that, sometimes when you grow and change and some relationships that may fall out of your life, that's just the ebb and flow of the river, because you're no longer fitting into what they need you to be in their life. It's not really about you.
I always say that people interpret who you are however they, like, based on however they want to interpret who you are.
For sure.
Like,
We're
I
all
am
mirrors.
sure that I am the villain in someone's story. I'm sure I'm the hero in someone's story.
Oh
I'm
yeah.
sure I'm the best friend. I'm sure I'm just an acquaintance. Like, I'm sure that I am everything under the sun in
Hmm.
everyone's story, and I have no control over that. I
Yep.
just need to know who I am, and whether who I am makes someone else uncomfortable because they interpret it that way is on
Hmm.
them, not on me.
Yes. 1,000%.
So be
Your
uncomfortable.
your story is the only one that matters, that you're
Hmm.
writing to you. Everyone else can write whatever they want at
Hmm.
any time, and you also have that ability. And the people around you, You
Yeah.
you are writing what they are to you at any given time, and that's okay. That's how life is. But I think I've had a huge, massive lesson in non-attachment. I always say connected to everything, attached to nothing. That's been my mantra lately, because it's like, you know, I used to get so attached to things, and I would be very sentimental, and I'm a hopeless romantic, and I like to feel secure and connected
Yeah.
to people. But when you start to get attached to a certain person, place, thing, job, idea, it doesn't foster room for growth. And
Yeah.
it's scary to be unattached. And that doesn't mean you're not fiercely loyal and devoted. It doesn't mean that at all. It just means, you know, the only constant in life is change. So you're flowing with your river instead of putting more rocks in it.
Yeah, I like that. I think that a lot of us are, I think that we can just be afraid of change,
Mm-hmm.
and it's because we
Scary,
don't know what comes next
for
when
sure.
the change takes place. And it's totally okay to be in that fear, to sit in that fear or that anxiety, or those thoughts of what could be. But I always think about change in this retrospect. Like, because we view change so negatively, our first initial thought is that this change is going to lead to something not so great.
Mm-hmm.
When we don't even actually know
Mm-hmm.
if it's going to be great or not. Even if we do view this specific change, like we want to move somewhere or change jobs, and we're looking at this as a positive thing, we don't even actually know until we get there whether or not that is going to be something positive, or it is going to be something negative, or it's just going to be a stepping stone to the next thing.
Totally. And it's all how you look at it too. Like,
Mm-hmm.
if you believe, the universe is always working in my favor, things are
Yeah.
happening for me, not to me. The more you trust in that, the better you can shift your perspective on things that are like negative or seem
Yeah.
negative at the time. Like I did an interesting, like, yin and yang, on a project I'm doing, and I listed out like all the things that happened in my life over the course of the past like 2.5, 3 years. And I did it from two different perspectives. One would be like a depressing perspective. My house
Mm-hmm.
flooded, I lost a dog, I relationship, I mean, all these things. And it's like, wow, how hard your life is, you know? And then I wrote them from a positive perspective of just like, not toxic positivity. I'm aware of everything that happens, but it's a perspective of, okay, this allowed me time to do this. This allowed me to have more of a savings to do this. This taught me how to deal with this. And this allowed me to meet myself in order to have all these experiences. So
Wow.
it's really the way you shift your internal mindset to look at anything, anything that
Yeah.
really matters. It's all how you're viewing it.
I love that because I've definitely done that in many, many, many pieces and parts of my life where something really, I almost feel like I've got it down to a science. Something really shitty happens and I take my moment to grieve, to be sad, to be angry, to be disappointed, to be any of these emotions that are most of the times, at least for me, difficult to get through.
Mm-hmm.
And I allow myself the time to feel that. I recognize and I'm grateful for all the things that I'm feeling and for all the change that might be taking place. But
Mm-hmm.
then I move myself forward knowing that this is what the universe has in store for me, that the
Yeah.
universe is always working in my favor, and
Mm-hmm.
that there is something ahead that this will then make sense for or about. Like when I lost my dog, of course, it did not occur to me like when it happened, and it was a very, very like tragic situation, and it did not occur to me, of course, during that the very moment when it happened and maybe like the week of, but I gathered myself together and moved forward knowing that change is change, that there wasn't anything that I could do in this moment, that knowing internally who I am too and what bad habits I might take on from this very sudden thing and not so great thing that happened, and moved forward in life, looking back on it, realized that it was the universe putting me in this position to it's like sad, but I'm not sad about it. It's like the universe put me in the situation to be completely, utterly alone so that I can learn how to be by myself in its
Mm-hmm.
entirety and truly get to know who I am. And I know that you've had like a similar experience where the universe kind of moved everything out of the way to say, here you go. Now you are completely by yourself. Learn who you are.
Yeah.
Figure out who you really are without all of these other responsibilities, people, and things going on. After that happened for me, after my dog Athena passed away, we went right into COVID. And all of a
Mm-hmm.
sudden, I had just got out of a relationship. My best friend, my dog, had passed away, and I'm alone. Not just alone, but like alone, alone, because
Mm-hmm.
we were confined to our homes for the most part. So I really had to get to know my space, get to know who I am, and I wouldn't. I struggle saying like I wouldn't change it for the world, but I think it's just I say that in a way of I'm grateful for however my path comes to be because I
For
know that
sure.
it is all working for me at the end of the day. And I wouldn't, like you said before, I wouldn't be who I am today if it weren't for all of these things that had taken place.
100%. I always say Lily, my soul dog that passed, her greatest gift to me was her passing. And, before I could never even think of losing her. I could never even dream of like even thinking about not having her with me,
Mm,
I would cry. And I've many people I know, they're like, I can't even think about not having my dog. And that's totally normal. Or person, relationship, whatever.
yeah.
But it was such a beautiful, eye-opening sort of juxtaposition when, the day came that I knew was her last day. It was the most beautiful day and the most stunning witness of unconditional love I've ever experienced. I was crying, not even out of sadness, out of like just overwhelming love and
Mm-hmm.
everything that happened. I mean, my partner and at the time, we went and got ice cream after. And even in the sky and in the street lights, she kept sending us signs. And it was like, wow, it really hit me that they're not gone.
Mm-hmm.
We're not alone. I mean, I've come to learn in the years since then, the other side or whatever you want to call it, the veil is as thin of a sheet of paper, and so it really was the catalyst to this entire new world, this new journey I was on of learning and discovering and
Yeah.
stepping into my own abilities and power. And I mean, she gave me that gift. I mean, her passing, her death, her transition was such a monumental moment of change in my life. I'm grateful every single day that she gave me that gift. And even though we had amazing times together and she held so much for me, truly that experience of her passing was one of the most monumental things that's ever happened to me.
Yeah, I had a similar experience when my dad passed away. I was on a plane. Um, I was actually like on a flight home, and I had a window seat. And normally I don't choose window seats. Normally I choose the aisle seat because I just want
Mm-hmm.
to like spread out my legs. And I had a window seat, and I had looked out the window, and it just so happened that the sun was going down, and I looked back on that day. It was the most beautiful. I have a video somewhere on my phone. It was the most beautiful like sunset I had ever
Mm.
seen. And it was actually a cazimi that day, which is when the sun and a planet come together at the same degree. They conjunct. And usually cazimis, not usually, cazimis are always just a beautiful, beautiful day of energy. So it was really interesting. I later found out that I kept seeing 1222 like couple the week before he passed, and it turns out that he passed at 222, and I
Mm.
realized that the numbers like all were weirdly in line. The day that he passed was October, so 10/22/2022. And
Mm.
that the number 12/22 that I kept seeing like on the clock, I would see it so much to the point where I was like, what the fuck? Well, like, what the hell? Why do I keep seeing 1 2 2?
Mm-hmm.
It's his birthday.
Mm.
It was almost like, and I didn't realize it until we were in the car on the drive to his wake and all those services and everything. It was just a really weird comfort or like circle kind of moment. But just like you, everything just seemed so much brighter. It was
Mm-hmm.
almost like I was watching my life all this time in 1080p, and then all of a sudden everything's in 4K.
Yeah,
It was so weird. And that's not to take away like the horrible moments, the reality
of
that
course.
set in, all of the things that I think no one really considers when you know, anyone you love passes away, because we live on this
We're still
reality of,
human. Yeah.
yeah, we live on this like reality, this humanity, earth, planet.
Mm-hmm.
So not to take away from all of those things that were not easy, but it was just so interesting to see life go from 1080 to 4K
Yeah. Well, it's
in
because
such a,
the truth behind that transition of
yeah.
death is actually a really beautiful thing. And,
Hmm.
Ram Dass said it best. It's like taking off a tight shoe. You just, you feel like,
Hmm.
and it doesn't matter how traumatic somebody passed. It's like taking off a tight shoe. And I've seen time and time again with my clients, the little signs and things they're sent. I mean, we're our biggest barrier. We often choose to suffer. Nothing biologically makes us suffer. It's a humanistic trait we have, and that's
Yeah.
not to say, of course, you're going to grieve, like, but you know, we're our biggest barrier because so many people, once you open your heart and your mind to receive signs and feel held, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, they come. Your dad sends you microwave numbers all the time. Like he knows. He's like, Julia's, she's gonna look at these numbers. I'm gonna keep sending them. And yeah, it's interesting because a lot of the I like to think of it from what I've been shown, and I know I've read for you and sat with your father before. Um, when you pass, I see sort of like the best way to describe it is like after a football game when the team goes back to the locker room. I'm not a football girly, but this is the visual I'm getting. And they like rewatch the game and they
Yeah.
rewatch the plays and they're like, okay, Kyle, you could have done a little better there, or had you gone left, this path would have happened, and
Oh,
then you could have gotten to the end zone. And
yeah.
so, rewatching that game you just played and learning from it,
Mm-hmm.
that is sort of the process once you cross over. And it has varying degrees of what you learn. But if you think of Earth as like a soul school, this is kind of your review of your semester, if you
Yeah.
will. And so a lot of the times when people are like, well, I didn't have a good relationship with so and so, or they were a mean person, or whatever, there's thousands of factors, karmic debt, whatever your soul contract is, lots of things that can factor into that, including free will and choice. But when they do this life review, you learn a lot of things that they're like, oh gosh, like, wow, had I known what I knew then, how many times do we say, had I known what I knew then?
Yeah.
And I like to think of this life as just a page in an encyclopedia of lives we've had. If you can open your mind and heart enough to zoom out and kind of drone out and see life from a bigger picture, and I'm not saying that you have to believe me or whatever I'm saying.
Yeah.
Whatever resonates with you, take it. Whatever doesn't, leave it. But I do encourage people, regardless of your beliefs, to drone out and think of things from a bigger picture and be more open-minded to the possibilities, because I've been shown so many possibilities out there that you wouldn't even believe. And so it's like, the more I know, the less I know. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, all of these things I've been shown, I know nothing. Like this life is so, like, we think we've got it down and we've got, like, I've just surrendered at this point. I'm like, I trust in the universe. I trust in what I feel. I trust in the energy. I trust in my relationship to the other side. I don't care if people don't believe me. I just, I know that the more I surrender, the more magic happens in my life.
Yeah.
And
There's so much to learn.
there's so much to learn. There's so
And
much
why
to
not?
learn. Why
Like, why not
not?
be open to it? Why not?
It's scary for people, and
I
it's,
think that's what it is. And it comes back to change. Like being open, being vulnerable, being just open to the possibility that some things could happen, some things could be true, some things could work is scary for people because
mm-hmm,
it brings change.
yeah.
It
And
always
it
comes back to that
also,
word, change.
it gives you less excuses of why you are stuck where you are.
Yeah.
People love excuses. They
Yep.
love, misery loves company. They love
Yep.
being a victim. And if you truly open your mind and your heart to possibilities, then there's infinite other directions you could be going in. So then it makes you
Mhm.
feel worse to be like, okay, I'm stuck in this space. But the flip side of that is like, okay, but look at all these other doors you could open. One of them's got to be cool that you like, you know?
Yeah.
And if I'm in a room full of doors, I'm a curious little kitty. I'm gonna open some and see what's going on. And if it's like, I'm not cool with this, just shut it. Go to the next door. It's not that complicated. Um, but I really think the more open we can be, I mean, the more peace you'll have. It's like the thing you're scared of is probably going to solve your problems, to be honest.
Yeah. There's a point like that in astrology called Chiron, and it's the meaning of this placement wherever it is where you have pain, but also where you'll find healing. And I
Mm,
love this placement so much because it whenever I look at someone's like full chart, even when I look at mine is in my first house. Mine
wow.
is in my house of self.
Mm-hmm.
So there's this constant pain in regards to who I am, but
Yeah.
healing in regards to who I am. So
Yep.
it's just like home plate for me. For some other people, they might have it elsewhere where they find pain and healing in regards to their fifth house of creativity and fun. Maybe they're always finding that the things that they're doing, the things that they are partaking in life are just not fun. But
Yeah.
maybe they just haven't found the right ones. It's like
Exactly.
being open to the
Being
possibility.
open.
And
I
I
mean,
always
there's
say too, I know this is all very like woo woo stuff for a lot of people, like mediumship, astrology, like reading into other things that are might not be physically in front of us. But I always say if it is going to help you, why not try? Why not be open to the possibility of
exactly.
it working?
People
It's like
label things
therapy
as
too.
woo woo out of
Yeah.
fear,
It's like
you
you can't go
know?
to therapy if you're closed minded. It won't work.
Exactly. And I think people like to put things in boxes and
Hmm.
labels and things that scare them or they're not open to. Let's put this in the crazy girl box. Let's put this in the woo woo crystal girl box. Let's
Yes.
put this in the hippie girl box.
Yes.
But it's not really, there are obviously people that are not grounded in the space, and
Yes.
there's all kinds of people in every space. Um,
Of course.
but I think if you come at it from a realistic perspective, I've always remained very realistic in my practice and my beliefs,
Hmm.
and I truly believe, yes, I could meditate for 3 hours and have my theta waves up here and be in spirit and have a great time. But I also need to live as a human being on this life. And so I've always wanted to use my relationship with spirit to help people have tools to actually live their human lives. I think so many people get caught up in spirituality being this escape almost from their human life, where it's actually, in my eyes, supposed to help you live the best human life you can and to
For
learn the
sure.
most that you can and to experience the most that you can. I don't see it as an escape. I see it as a home base, a grounding, a way to, a curriculum almost to
Yeah.
move forward and embrace challenges easier and things like that. Not so much. And people think it's crazy to believe in the other side and this and that. I, this may be controversial, but I think a lot of belief systems, religions, whatever you want to call them, all sorts of things people follow to believe in something higher than us. Even atheism, they're all something that gives you something to believe in,
Hmm.
whatever the spectrum. But I truly believe at the core of it, if you take away all the greed, the money, the humanistic characteristics people have put on these systems for years and centuries, the core of all of these belief systems is to feel connected and to feel love and to feel something outside of ourselves. And I think no matter what you believe, it's different cookbooks, but it's different ingredients and different cookbooks and different languages and different amounts, but you're still making food. You're still cooking, it's just different recipes, but the goal
Yeah.
is the same. Everyone's trying to eat, everyone's trying to nourish their soul in some way.
Yeah.
And so I think the way you can look at that, at least for me, it helps me look at all the differences not as differences. It's like we've come from such a separatist type of world lately that
Hmm.
we've grown into, where it's like actually the more unity we can have and the more realizing common ground with people, even if you don't speak the same language or you're on the other side of the world, there's so much common ground
Yeah.
and so many things we all experience together. I'll talk to my girlfriends about certain things that are happening in my life. They're like, oh my gosh, the same thing is happening, or I just went through that. Or they'll be like, 2 months later, they'll be like, that thing you had, I have the same thing. And it's like, that is not a coincidence. Like,
Hmm.
people are going through similar collective experiences. And so I think the more we can recognize that instead of rejecting it, and just embrace it, I think the world will be a happier place.
Agreed, 100%. We always, I think going back to what you said about escaping, like using our belief systems as an escape or using anything as an escape, whenever I picture the word escape, it is kind of like this tunnel that you're running through, and the tunnel ends up being a circle, and you just end up exactly back where you were until
Mm-hmm.
you finally actually like face it head on.
Yeah.
So if we use any of our belief systems, even if we do use like astrology or any of these more woo-woo belief systems as a way to escape the reality that we're living in, we're not ever going to be able to synchronistically, if that's even a word, synchronistically live in this reality of humanity.
Totally.
You're always going to be chasing something. You're always going to be chasing or escaping away from what you're just going to keep being brought back to. And that has to
The
go, that has
universe
to,
serves you patterns on a platter
yes.
until
Oh,
you
yeah.
learn. Every
Oh, yeah.
time. Every time. I mean, how many people have you known that'll be like, I'm gonna move here, I'm gonna move there, or yourself maybe, but like, and then you see these people, they're constantly moving and they're constantly running around, and
Mhm.
their problems don't go away just because they,
Oh, yeah.
are in a different country or a different state. It's you don't need to leave to change. You can
Hmm.
change wherever you're at any given time. It's
As
just
long
the
as you make the choice
acceptance,
to do that.
the choice. It's all
Yeah.
about choice. It's all about
Yeah.
intention. It's all about
Exactly.
the energy you put into things. I mean, I have had many a discussion with my family and my mother and things about like energy, and I think people almost reject the word energy at this point. They're like, "Oh, it's energy." But like literally scientifically, matter is a bunch of atoms, and
Yeah.
atoms are literally energy. So everything is energy. And
For,
when you come up, when you're in the store and some creepy person is behind you, kind of following you, or in an alley, and you get that feeling. They
yeah.
didn't say anything to you, they haven't touched you, nothing. You just get that feeling. That's an
Yeah.
energy you are picking up. That's your
Hmm.
intuition. That's an energy from their field. When you meet someone you've never met before, but you're like, oh my God, this person's awesome. Like, I love this person. Like, I want to be
Yeah.
around them more. That's an energy. It,
Hmm.
it is not, every single thing around you. Look around your room, wherever you are. Every single thing was a thought before it was matter. Somebody thought of it.
Hmm.
This table I'm sitting on didn't exist until someone thought, let me take some wood and build a table because we need a table. Like,
Yeah.
so to think that you're so limited that you can't create anything that you desire or want to manifest is wild to me. It's people's limiting beliefs are the only things that are holding you back, truly.
1,000,000%. 1,000,000%. I that's what I say too. I like fear holds you back, but it's you who holds you
Hmm.
back.
Yeah. And the more you work on yourself, the more you love yourself, the
Mm-hmm.
more self-love you cultivate, the more confidence you have, and that is directly proportional to overcoming that fear. Because it's not that I don't feel fear anymore. I just
Yeah.
love and trust myself enough and have the confidence that even if I'm scared to do something, I know I'm going to be okay and I'm going to get through it
Yeah.
and I'm going to deal with whatever comes at me. That is truly self-love to me.
Yeah.
It's not an absence of fear. It's even though I'm fearful, I'm going to jump because I
Mm-hmm.
know I will be caught and I will catch myself.
Yeah. It's the overarching umbrella. I always say like self-love, and that's why I'm here like with this podcast. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing, because I am truly tired of seeing people put self-love on this pedestal,
Mm-hmm.
because self-love is not just looking in the mirror and being like, I love you, or being happy
Mm-hmm.
with who you are. No, it's the all encompassing complexities of everything that you are. All of the pieces of yourself that you do love, all of the things about yourself you may not love, but you choose to
Mm-hmm.
love anyway. All of the things about everything of who you are that make up the person that you were, the person that you are, and the person that you will be.
Yes.
And like I said, it's the complexities. And I think this whole like chat with you has been so much about the complexities of who we are as people.
Mm-hmm.
And that two things can be true at once. We can be grieving the loss of someone that we love at the same time of feeling all of this good energy that they have left with us.
Yes. The yin and the yang. It's
Yeah, it's
constant.
exactly. Like we can feel, we can be all of these things all at the same time. We
And the
don't have to just
allowance.
fit. Yeah, we don't just have to fit into one box.
Totally. I think one thing that's come up a lot to me lately, especially with some of my clients, is this feeling of guilt we put on ourselves. And we think, well, if someone in my life is going through something really tough, then why do I deserve to have happiness and joy and all of this? Or, if my parent is going through this terrible thing, I feel guilty being able to live my life and having
Mm,
joy. Or if all of these terrible things are going on in the world right now, how can I be going on vacation and like laying at the pool and whatever? And that's a false guilt we put on ourselves. And the way I look at it from an energetic perspective is, I said misery loves company. If you take everything from a perspective of sheer energy, and there's all this trauma and negativity happening in the world, that negative energy wants more negative energy. It wants to grow. It wants to attract more negative energy. So if
hmm.
you decide, hey, I'm going to be depressed because of all of this negativity happening,
Yeah.
then you're feeding more into that. Whereas if you're like, I'm not going to deny that it's happening. I'm still aware of it happening, but I'm going to choose to then put a tenfold amount of love and joy into the world for all the people, places, and things that cannot experience it right now. That energy that you're radiating of love and joy and good energy is actually far more powerful than the energy of negativity. So you are
Yeah.
actually helping alchemize this negative energy by putting more joy and love into the world. It's not that you don't know that it's going on, it's that you see it's going on and you're choosing to inject love into a situation that has a ton of negativity to try and lighten some of that, because the loving
Hmm.
energy is far more potent and powerful than the negative energy.
It's like when someone walks into a room super happy and you're just like, meh today. And all of a sudden their energy
Yes.
just fills you with the same type of energy. Like someone walks in a room and that's super happy, super joyful, laughing, and it makes you want to laugh and be super joyful and happy. It goes both ways. I love the way that you describe this because a lot of times I'll sense, especially being someone on social media and knowing how overwhelming social media can get and how, I would say, good the algorithms are, where you watch one thing for just a little
Mm-hmm.
bit too long and then all of a sudden you're seeing it another time, something
Yep.
similar, a third time, a fourth time, a fifth time. And then you've been, especially when it comes to something not so positive, you've been immersed in on this platform in something that's giving you all of this very sad energy or
Mm-hmm.
depressing energy. So to
And that is
turn
not a
that,
random algorithm. It
oh
is
yeah,
designed that way.
oh yeah, 100%. So to be self-aware that that is happening and to turn it
Mm-hmm.
around is so powerful. To output, to recognize what you're inputting, but to output something else is such a strength.
Yeah.
And to recognize that there might be something happening in your life or around you that you don't care for, that you don't
Mm-hmm.
love, that isn't making you happy, that isn't bringing you joy. Recognizing that that's happening, but also choosing to be happy, or like I said before, feeling like the complexity of all of these different emotions, that is okay.
Yes, 1,000%. You can help alchemize the energy of things around you
Mm-hmm.
to be lighter. And I even in my life, I have so much joy and so many amazing experiences happening, and yet I'm also have people that are going through really dark times and
Yeah.
really heavy things. And I don't let that heaviness cloud the joy that I'm supposed to put out there, because my
Yeah.
joy is helping the people going through the heavy stuff too. And when I'm
Mm-hmm.
going through heavy stuff, people emitting joy to me is helping me. So,
Mm-hmm.
it's a beautiful power we have that I think we've forgotten about a lot.
Yeah.
And letting go of that guilt of, I mean, I live thousands of miles away from my parents. My dad's had dementia for 10 years. My mother takes care of him day in and day out. And, I used to feel so guilty. Like, she takes care of
Mm-hmm.
him every day. How am I out traveling and having fun? And I should be there more and I should be doing something. But her joy is coming from my joy. My joy is radiating to her.
Mm-hmm.
Me living, I say I have people that live vicariously through me and they joke. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to give you a great freaking life then. Like, I'm going to live like really, really deeply, because it is contagious, and that joy is contagious. And the more good and the more happiness I can send her way and to anyone else that's going through things, I think that's a better use of my time than being in a state of being heavy and sad and depressed just because other people are. It's like,
Of
even
course.
when I sit down to eat, I'm grateful for the food I have because there's people that don't have food. And if I am able to eat for someone that can't, I try to put that gratitude and that good energy into that and just be very mindful and intentional about all of the activities I'm doing, to really lead my life from a place of love.
Yeah, 100%. Thank you, Kathleen, so much for being here. Really, I appreciate you to the moon and back. Before we go, is there anything else that you would like to share with everyone?
Ooh, believe in your own power. You are so much more powerful than you could ever imagine. Trust yourself, listen to your intuition, and know that you know more than you think you know, and to honor that. Yeah.
I second all of that. I second every bit of that. Thank you, Kathleen, again so much for being on the podcast. I think that everybody is going to love this episode, if I do say so myself. Maybe I'm biased, but it's fine. Before we head out, tell everyone where they can book a session, or connect with you, and where they can find you.
Sure. You can find me on Instagram at Kathleen Ives with an underscore. Also on TikTok, same at Kathleen Ives underscore. My website, kathleenives.com, or you can shoot me an email, hello@kathleenives.com. My DMs are open. I check my emails. I'm happy to discuss a little more about what I do and what would be best for you. And or if you just want to say hi or drop a hello, I'm here. Yeah, I'm really excited. Thank you so much. This is
Oh my goodness.
honestly so wonderful, and I love having these kinds of conversations, and I really hope our energy like radiates to everybody.
I think it does already. If your energy radiates to me and mine radiates to you, it's going to radiate outward to absolutely everyone. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you everyone so much for listening to this week's episode. Cast goes up bi-weekly on Sundays at 12 o'clock Eastern Time. I will see you guys in the next episode, and thank you always for listening. Bye.